Hi guys, welcome to my series once again. I've been documenting my journey so far on cloud and DevOps. So today I'm bringing us another series where I'll be designing a project. This project entails to run a web application and provide high availability. My name is Tochukwu Chukwu. So join me as I give us a brief understanding of what I'm about to do. So here, let me go to my sketch. Here, we are trying to build a two-tier architecture on AWS that will run a web application. So the intention is that the architecture will be able to withstand disaster and the downtime um, if they ever occur. So the design is a VPC that will have front end and back end. So the front end will be running a public resources, while the back end will be running private resources. So at the back end, we'll have private subnet, while at the front end, we'll have the public subnet. Then the private subnet will be connected to a general storage system, the EFS, the Elastic File System. So this file system enables all the resources um, to be shared amongst our servers. So instead of mounting different volumes for each of these servers in the private subnet, we would rather have an EFS that will be mounted to them. Then whatever um, web application that this EFS is running will be shared across all the servers. So here we have our EFS, Elastic File System. Then in the private subnet, we have three servers: server 1, server 2, server 3. Then on the public subnet, we'll be having our load balancer, our network NAT gateway, then a jumper server. So on this public subnet, the jumper server basically is here to help us manage the resources on this EFS. Because remember that the private subnet is out of reach from the internet, so it's not exposed to the internet. So there is no way we'll be able to access the resources and the private subnet from the internet because we kept it private. So it's meant not to be shared on the internet. So that's why we are keeping it in the private subnet, because it's meant to remain private. While the resources and the public subnets will be facing the internet. So here we have on the public subnets, we have application load balancer, then the NAT gateway, the jumper server. We also have an internet gateway here. All right. The Remember that the private subnet, even though they are private and they are not supposed to be exposed to the internet, but also they will be needing the internet in one way or the other to update packages. So how do we do that? That's the reason why we are integrating, we are deploying this NAT gateway. So basically what the NAT gateway does is that the NAT gateway allows our private subnet to access the internet, all right, but not giving access from the internet into the private subnet. So anytime our servers need to update any package running in the system, they will have to go through the NAT gateway instead of going through the internet gateway, because going through the internet gateway meaning that you're exposing them directly to the internet. All right, but since we need to keep them private, we do not need to give them access to the internet via the internet gateway. Rather, would give them access to the internet via the NAT gateway. so they remain private. So every resources that will be running in the private subnet remains private here. So if you check down here, we have Datadog. So we use Datadog to monitor the system. Datadog will be able to give us the metrics of whatever that is happening in the system, what is wrong, the processes running in our server, and everything happening at all. The Datadog will capture it. Then we also integrate Slack. So Slack will be like where the whatever metrics that is collected from Datadog will push down to the Slack. So we'll create an alert that whatever is detected in the system should be pushed via the Datadog monitoring system to the Slack channel. So here at the Slack channel, we'll have those that are standby, positioned to be monitoring whatever that is happening in this whole system. All right. So um, here also we have our client machine, which is from our desktop or our laptop, that will have access to we'll be connecting to our jumper server from the client's machine via MobeXTEM. So this jumper server serves like a management server. All right. So we'll be using this jumper server to mount our EFS. Okay. Then we'll also be configuring our security group. We have the private security group, we have the public security group, and we also have the load balancer security group. Also create a route table, public route table, and a private route table. So in this system now, we'll be having two public subnets and two private subnets. Then we'll have three security group, private, public, and load balancer security group. Then also we'll be having um, what again, our route table. Okay, we'll be having our public route table and our private route table. All right, so without wasting much of your time, let's quickly go to the AWS console and start working on them. So here we are on AWS console. So we head down to here. I will need to sign in again. Do I need to sign in again? I think I'm signed in. Let me refresh that. Okay, here we are. So from here, we're going to be creating our VPC. Remember, the VPC is like the house that every other thing will be built in. Okay, so here you can either do VPC here, or I can just come here and do create VPC. I'll create VPC. I'll name my VPC. So I'll choose a name. Okay, I'll do Cloud9 VPC. Cloud9 VPC. Then let's choose our CIDR block 192.168.0.0/16. Okay, so every other thing looks good. We click on create. So it's creating our VPC right now. Okay, our VPC is ready. Then next is to create our subnet. So let me head over to subnets. I'll open it. Okay, here we are. Then I will just quickly create a subnet. Remember, I told us that we'll be creating two public subnets and two private subnets. Okay, So here we'll choose our VPC, Cloud9 VPC. Then let's give it a name. I'll say public subnet 01. So we'll choose our availability zone. Remember that your VPC and your subnet are meant to be in the same region. All right, in the same region, so that you don't mess up things. So here we'll be creating our first public subnet on one of the availability zones here. Remember, we are in United States and Virginia. All right, so we'll be using the first public subnet, which is the public subnet 01. We'll be putting it in this availability zone. Okay, this US is 1A. So I'll select US is 1A. Then here I'm going to give it a network block 192.168.10.0/24. Okay, so we'll go ahead and create our first public subnet. Okay, this is created. So let's go back and create another one. Create another one. To select our VPC Cloud9. Then we'll name it again. Cloud9. I was supposed to name the other one Cloud9 so that we can differentiate between it and the ones we have in the system already. So Cloud9 public subnet 2 Cloud9 public subnet 02. So here we'll be choosing 1B. Remember that what we are creating is a high availability system. All right, which means that we need in all conditions, in the worst conditions actually, that our system will be up and running. So this is why we are choosing different availability zones in the region. So we have put the first public subnet in the availability zone A. Then the second subnet of public will be in zone B. All right, 1B. So we'll be choosing 1B so that if anything happens to 1A, 1B will still be up and running. So here we'll do 192.168.20.0/24. So hit create. Okay, so we have our second subnet created. Let me use my mouse. Okay, so we have two subnet now. You can see this. Let me expound. So let me rename this to Cloud9. So it will be easier for us to differentiate. Cloud9 public subnet 01. Save. Okay, so we have two public subnet already. So let's go and create our private subnet now. So we'll go back select our VPC Cloud9, then we'll give it a name again, Cloud9 Private Subnet 01. Cloud9 Private Subnet 01. So we'll choose our availability. Remember again that we'll be adding this one to what? The US is to 1A. Alright, so now we'll be having two subnets in one availability zone. We have public subnet 1 and private subnet 1 in the same availability zone. Okay, so we'll choose this one. So here we'll be giving our network block 168.40.0/24. Okay, so create. So we've created our first private subnet. So let's go and create the last one, the second private subnet. So we'll go here and we'll name it again Cloud9 Private Subnet 02. So this one will be going to the availability zone B here, zone B. Okay, so we'll choose our network block 168.60.0/24. Okay, everything is okay. Yeah, everything looks good. Okay, let's create that. Okay, so let's refresh our subnets. We have 4 subnets. See, we have 4 subnets: public 1, public 2, private 1, private 2. All right, so let's go to the public private subnets and be sure that we are not assigning any IP, public IP to it. So let's go to the settings, edit subnet settings. Okay, you can see this one is what's turned off. All right, this is turned off. We need that to be off, so we needed to double check that. Then let's come back again to the other privates. Let's check the settings. Yeah, it's turned off. All right, so let's also check the public ones. Public 1. So here, remember the public one needs to access the internet. So we'll be enabling this one. Enable auto assign public IP address. Yes, because this is supposed to be on the public network. All right. So we are enabling that. To save. So let's go to the second one. Edit. Yeah, to save. Okay. So next, we'll be creating our route table. So we'll be having our 2 route tables, right? The 3 route tables rather. Sorry, 2. We'll be creating our 2 route tables, private and what? Public. So let's quickly go and create that. Create. So we'll name it Cloud9 route table public route table, sorry, public route table. So select the VPC. Remember Cloud9 we're working on. Okay, we click route table. That's done. So we create the second one. We create the second one. We name it again Cloud9 private route table. Select the VPC, then we'll create. Okay, so we have our private and public route table now. So let's go and associate our subnet to a route table. Okay, so we'll go to our private O1. Sorry, let's go to the route table. Public route table, let's associate it with the public subnet. So edit subnet association. So remember, if you check here, we'll have 4 subnet that is not associated yet. So we'll be associating 2 to the public, while private will be associated, 2 private will be associated to the what? Private route table. So let's quickly do that now. Edit. Then we'll select the 2 public, 1 and 2. Save. So let's confirm again. Come here. Okay, so we have the 2 public subnets associated to this what public route table. Good. So let's do for the other private one. Private route table. Edit association. We're selecting private 1, private 2. Save that. Okay. Now let's also edit our routes. Right, but before we do that, let's create our internet gateway and security group. So let's go down to security group. We'll be creating 3 security group, 1 private, 1 public, and 1 for load balancer. So we'll create security group. We'll give it a name, Cloud9 security group. Cloud9 public security group. Public security group. This one will allow more traffic. Let's select the VPC. We'll select this Cloud9. Okay. So this one will allow all traffic, and also the inbound rules. This is outbound rule, yes. Inbound rules will be, because we'll be using this very one to access our jumper server. So we adding it SSH. Let's allow SSH here. Okay, I will leave it at all network for now, but I can edit that later anyway. So I'll create this security group. So here we are, we have created the security group. Then we need to create the private security group. So let's go back again, security group, create security group. Here we'll be doing Cloud9 private security group. Okay, so traffic. So this basically will be facing the load balancer. So load balancer will be sending traffic to this. So we select our Cloud9 VPC. So here we have our network here, outbound, yes, because they will have to access the internet via the NAT gateway. Then the inbound rules. Okay, let me allow all traffic for now. All crates. Now let's create another one, the load balancer. So Cloud9 load balancer security group. So this one, allow HTTPS and HTTP. So the inbound rule, allow HTTPS and also allow HTTP. So remember that the load balancer will be facing the internet. So because we'll be serving our application on these secured ports, but we'll use this HTTP will be for the production, while the HTTPS will be where um, the application will be served on a secured port. So here I will create security group. Sorry, I need to select yes. Okay, so we have our three security group now. Let's go and check again. So we have it here. We have the Cloud9 private security. So let me rename it so it will be easier for us to let me rename it. Private public, then load balancer. Okay, let's refresh that again. Okay, so we have it here. Three of them are here. So let's go down and let's create our internet gateway. I'll say Cloud9 internet gateway. I'll create that. So let's attach our gateway to the VPC. So you can see here it says detached. So it's not attached to a VPC yet. So let's attach it to a VPC. So go to actions, attach to VPC, come here, select Cloud9, then attach. Okay, so we are done with that. So let's go to the internet gateway. Let's enter inside the internet gateway and okay, everything is attached. Is attached now. So next we are going to do is to create our NAT gateway. So we have our internet gateway created. So let's go to our route table and see if we need to edit our routes. So let's go to the public route table. Open it. Then we have to edit. If you see here, you can see here, this one is for local. So um, this allows the subnet to communicate within the system, within the network. So this one is local. So we'll be giving this one access to the public subnet. We'll be routing it access to the internet. So go to edit routes, then we'll add routes, add internet, we'll add internet gateway, then we'll select our internet gateway that we created. So this one allows um, our public subnet to go to the internet. So we'll save changes. So let's go back again. You can see we have two now. Let me refresh. Okay, so we have go to associated networks, subnets. We have two subnets associated to the route table. Okay, so let's also check the routes. All right, so you can see there is two now. We have two routes, one local and one connecting to the internet. So this is good. So for our private subnets, you can see that we only have one. All right. So we'll be creating the private subnet will be using the NAT gateway to reach the internet instead of the internet gateway. So we'll be creating the NAT gateway for this private route table. So, but before then, let's go and create our EFS. Let's go and create our EFS. Let's come here. EFS. We'll be creating our EFS here. So the EFS will be where all the files, all the application files will be living in the EFS, and every of our servers in the network will be able to access it. So we're not going to be using different volumes. EFS just allows file share and is elastic. So as many informations as you upload to it is going to contain it, so it doesn't get filled up. What's wrong with my network? So we are here in the EFS console. So you can see that it said create an EFS file system with recommended settings. So this elastic file system, scalable, elastic, cloud native NFS file system. So this is what we'll be using for the storage. So create file system. We'll name it Cloud9 EFS. Cloud9 EFS. So why is my VPC not showing here? My VPC is not showing here. So let me refresh it. Let's create again. Cloud9 EFS. Why is my VPC not showing? Cloud9 is not showing here. What's going on? Let me go and refresh the VPC again. Let's refresh. Let's go back again and refresh here. Cloud9 EFS. Default. Why what's going on? I can't find my VPC here. Let me troubleshoot that and come back. Okay guys, I found the reason why I'm not seeing my VPC here. So this is the reason here. The region is showing a different region. Why my VPC was created in this region, North Virginia. Then here I'm having Ohio, so I'll have to switch it to North Virginia. Okay, so let's create again. Cloud9 EFS. Okay, so we'll have it here. This is the Cloud9 here. Select that. Then we'll go to customize. Under customize, we'll leave it at automatic backup. EFS is regional. Okay, we want to leave it regional. So every server that will be running in that region will have access to the EFS system. Then the encryption will be enabled. Then we'll come down here. Performance will be enhanced. Elastic recommended. So we are good with all these settings. So we'll go to next. I don't think we need to do another thing here. There's nothing to do here. We'll go to next. So here we'll have to select our subnet. So remember that in is 1A we'll have our public over there. So we'll make sure that we're selecting public. All right. Remember that we'll have here we'll select public. Then here security group, we'll have to select public security group also. So we'll have public security group here. Then we'll come down to this second one. We'll select private. It's already on private. Then here we'll select private security group. This is very important because if you don't make the right selections, your servers will not be able to access the EFS, because this will allow the system to create an IP address for our EFS in different availability zones. So go to next. Here we are not doing any settings here. We'll go to next. So here is giving us the details of our file system, what we have created so far. Okay. Then we'll hit on create. Good. So I'll be deleting this one. This is the old one I created before. I'll be deleting this one. File system ID. Let me delete this one. So let's delete that one so that we'll have only one here. is deleting. Let's give it time. So it has been deleted. Let me refresh again. Okay, it has been deleted. So next, let's enter the EFS and create a mount point. Let's create access points. You can see we have no access points here. We have no access points. So go to access points. We don't have any access points. So create access points. So we are creating for our Cloud9 EFS. We select that here. You can see Cloud9 access points, Cloud9 EFS access points. So we are not doing any other settings here. We are not doing any other settings here. We just hit create. Okay, we've created an access points. Let's refresh that again. Go into there. Let's confirm also that it's been created. Okay, you can see access points created here. You can see this is the access point is created. This is our file, EFS file. So go inside here, see access points. Yes, we'll have an access point created. So this is what we'll be using to mount our EFS to our EC2 instance, to our servers. This DNS name, that's what we'll be using to mount it. So next we need to create a jumper server. So let's go to our sketch again and see what we have done so far. So we have created EFS, we have created the private subnet, we have created the public subnet, we have created internet gateway, security groups, and rest. So, but remember these servers in the private subnet, we are not going to be creating them ourselves. We'll be using a template to create them. All right. So we'll not be creating this one ourselves. So we'll be using a template, a launch template to create these servers. So let's create our jumper server. So before we do that, let's go and create our key. Let's go and create our key. Let me go here. Let me create a new folder. Let me say my key. My key. I'll open that. Let me make it wider. Right. I'll open that in terminal. Okay, so we're in PowerShell now. So I'll be creating my key here. SSH keygen. So we'll be choosing our bits. I'll be using 4096. 1496. Then the algorithm is RSA. So the name of my key, I will say my jumper key. My jumper key. Okay, let me say jumper key. Jumper key. Let me specify the one I used to create it. Yes, jumper key 1496. So that is the bit I am using to create it. So quickly do enter. Okay. So let's go and confirm if it has created. Okay, so we have our key here. So this is our private and this is our public. All right. These are private, these are public. I don't want this to be opened in the choose another app. Notepad. Yes. Always use notepad. Let me check set it again. No. Notepad. Always use notepad. Yes. Okay. So we have our public key and private key. So let's go and upload our public key to AWS. So let's go back to our console. I'll come back to let me go to EC2. So here we are in the EC2. Let's go to key pair. Key pairs. My network seems to be bad. I don't know why it's slow. Okay. So let's click import key pair. Import key pair. Remember we have created our key pairs. So at the we've not created our key pair, we'll have to create key pair, but we have created already. So let's go and import it. Key pair name. I'll say jumper key pair. Jumper key 1496. Then let me go and copy it. Let me go and copy it. So I'll copy it and I'll paste it here. Import key. Okay, so we have imported our key. Good. So now let's go and create our jumper server. Go to instance, I'll go to launch instance. Launch without a walkthrough. I don't need a walkthrough. Yeah. So I will name it jumper server. Jumper server. So here I will choose Ubuntu. Under Ubuntu, I'll be using Ubuntu 24 because this is most compatible with Datadog. Yes, Ubuntu 24. So we'll come down, instant type, we'll do T too small, we'll do T too small. Where do we have that? T too small. Okay. Then key pair. Remember we created our key pair. So I'll select my key pair. Then here under network settings, security group. I've created a security group. So remember this one will be in a public subnet. This jumper server is in a public subnet. So if we check our sketch here, this is the jumper server. So we are creating it in the public subnet because that's what we'll be using to access the infrastructure from our computer. So select security group, existing security group. Why am I not seeing that here? Let me refresh. All right, guys. So I was able to find out that I was supposed to edit my network settings. So let me edit the network settings. So under the network settings, I'll select the VPC. Remember, we're working on Cloud 9. So I'll select Cloud 9 VPC. Then the subnet. Remember that this jumper server is meant to be in a public subnet. All right. So we have to choose any of the availability zones here, any of the public subnets in any of the zones here. So let me check again. Okay, this is a private, this is a public, this is a private, public. Okay, let's go with the Cloud9 public subnet 01. So let's put it in there. Now, auto assign public IP. Yes, we have to enable that because this we need an IP address that we'll be using to access it remotely from the mobile extent. Then I will have to select my security group. Remember, I'll be doing a public security group. So I will put it in public security group. Okay. So every other thing will be left the same here. Remember, you use the Ubuntu 24 because it's most compatible with Datadog, so that we won't be running into any issues when we'll be integrating Datadog to our system. So everything is good, then I'll create launch instance. Launch instance. All right, so we've created our instance. Okay, so let's go back to instances. Okay, we have it here. Our jumper server is here, is running. All right, is running. So let me quickly um let me get our IP address. Okay, this is our public IP address. Let me log into the server. Let me log into the server. Let me open our mobile stem. I'll go to session, SSH, hostname. I'll put our IP address. Username is Ubuntu. Ubuntu. Then go to advanced. Use private key. I'll import my private key. I have it here. This is the private key. Okay. Accept. All right. So here we are in our server. Okay. So here we are in our server. So let me do sudo hostname CTO. Okay, so this is our IP address. Okay, so let me see who. Sorry. Um, SW. Okay. Switch user. Ubuntu. Sudo su Ubuntu. Okay. So we are here in the jumper server. So let me quickly do who. Okay. Who am I? I am Ubuntu. So here I would stop this video because I don't want it to be too long. It's already 1 hour video. So I will continue the next series in a new video. All right. So The new series will be that we'll be creating our data dog, then mounting our EFS to our jumper server, then also connecting Datadog to our server. So I will be doing that from the next series. So we'll have our Slack and every other thing that we need to integrate. We'll be doing that in the next series. So I don't want this video to be very long. It's already 1 hour video now. So let me um, stop this video here and we'll continue in the next series. Thank you for joining me so far, and I hope you enjoyed this very series. My name again is Tochukwu Chukwu. This is my space on a journey on cloud and DevOps. So I'm happy that I've been able to take you guys along with what I've been doing on this project. So let's wait and continue from the next series. Thank you.